And
Now,
as soon as this goes,
Oh,
gonna
wait,
go
now
live
we're
any
being
second.
live?
yeah, it's gonna go live here, and it's doing it right now. And then I'm gonna make you host again, Terry.
okay. I think we're live now. So.
We are live.
So, welcome to Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout. I'll let some people introduce themselves, starting with Zara.
Hi, I'm Sarah Altair. Write for the web and other things. I just got asked to write a white paper this morning. Ex dairy goat breeder, which is how I knew about jerry rigging for calves from horses.
Okay, and Steve.
Steve Grenzer with Web Narwhal and Gentleman Farmer.
Let's just stick to farmer. Let's be truthful. You're no gentleman.
Just Farmer.
And I'm Terry Van Horn. I'm retired SEO and web developer living in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Okay, so what's new this week, guys?
Google just released color fonts as part of their font package. Color fonts are actually bitmaps. They're emojis most commonly, but this also allows them the ability to do 3D text and things like that natively as a font in the Google Fonts package.
Huh.
Oh, okay. So a lot like that would be a lot like Font Awesome then too, correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's just going to be more fonts to download if your CMS downloads all of them.
Or you're dumb enough to use Google Fonts.
Google Fonts are popular.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
are.
but people don't really understand what comes with Google Fonts, which
Germany
we've discussed lots. Like Google can track every site you go to that's using them.
Yeah.
Because they are not cacheable. So if you're trying to build a fast website, you do not use Google Fonts, you use system fonts.
Yeah.
Which the internet was fine with them for 25 years or so. So, I don't know what makes Google's fonts so great that
Because they're
want to download them.
customize your website. So you don't have a default Times New Roman text on your site. It allows you to use a wide variety of fonts for a wide variety of topics or reasons. Now I get it, but I don't know. There has to be a way to, at some point, the theme developers and have to come up with a way for you to select the fonts you want to use and then only load those fonts, not the entire font.
Everything.
That's
yeah.
what I did is I added a thing where you could add a Google font or anything if you wanted to into the head of the document or into the footer. Which is how most themes should be made if they're, but actually I believe that's against the rules for building themes for WordPress.
Could be. All I know is if your audience is in Germany or your website's in Germany and you use Google Fonts, you're in trouble.
Or probably almost anywhere where it's not English fonts.
Well, Germany is one of the few countries that has come out and actively said use of Google Fonts without prior permission from the viewer is a violation of the Privacy Act.
Well, actually, I would say they're probably not legal anywhere in Europe because they're trackable.
Yeah.
Which, how many people have figured that out? Not many. As soon as I saw, why can't you cache these, right?
Yeah.
I thought to myself, why would Google do this? And that was the only reason I could think of, is that they actually track track websites that you hit using those fonts.
It's like firing a hidden pixel on every single page load.
That's right,
Yeah.
Steve. You got it. You got it. You know,
Tried to explain that
nobody.
to someone about, they're like, well, we don't use Google Analytics, therefore they don't know what's going on. It's like, oh, yeah, no, you're using Google Fonts. They know what's going on.
Yeah, or if you're using Google advertising on your site,
Chrome. Your
yeah,
users
Chrome,
use Chrome
Chrome
browser.
even more so. Like I've been setting up some accounts for trading crypto, and they keep asking me why I don't use Google. And I said, as a trader, you should know that, because didn't you know that every stroke you make on your keyboard goes to Google when you're using Chrome?
We had a client lead, and they didn't want to have anything to do with Google, anything to do with Facebook. And it's like, so why are you building a website? Because that's
Yeah.
where 90% of your traffic's going to come from. And unfortunately, like a lot of people, they hear things but don't understand.
Right.
They want to build the website on blockchain.
Oh, yeah,
And-
that one was weird.
And they want to
That
put the
one was
website behind
weird.
a VPN. And I'm like, no, we need to have a long conversation, because none of this is a thing.
Yeah, or let's talk about how the internet actually works.
So,
So let's go back to color for a minute.
uh-huh.
Why would you want color fonts?
So let me see, where did I just have that article? I just have the article up.
Okay,
First batch of color fonts. Here we go. I'll drop the link in the chat. Color fonts, they're just more fonts.
Yeah.
You can
'Cause-
do gradients built into them. You can do
Oh,
3D
3D,
text,
okay.
palette colors, and they are bitmaps. They aren't, they're not true type. They're legitimate images. So when you start getting into foreign language fonts,
Mhm.
it helps.
Oh, Font Awesome doesn't actually use bitmaps, or it's an actual, I forget what kind of image it is. SGML, does that?
I don't know.
Yeah. It's a vector anyhow. It's like a vector picture. And what I like about Font Awesome is to color it. You just change the color of the font on the thing, and it changes it.
Right, well, that's why I was asking about the color stuff, because
Well, Google's got to make everything harder. Their actual goal with every tool they bring out is to make your job harder, not easier.
Yeah.
If you look the way they lay things out, that's their actual goal, is to make it harder.
oh, you mean reading a page on Google?
Or just the way they lay out, for instance, GSC. You always have to make extra clicks to actually find what you want, when they could have direct clicks. So they're moving on. They did release a new core update for September. 3
Oh, no, the
days.
horror.
Yeah, 3 days after they finished rolling out the HCU, the helpful content update, which tells me HCU was actually gathering the signals for the September core update. That's what I think they're actually doing. And now they're going to implement those signals, and people are going to see some real movement. So I don't think there was much movement at first, because they were just applying the signals to the old algos. And then when they update it to the new ones, you'll see even bigger. So I think some people saw a drop And they're gonna see a real drop in about 3 weeks.
Well, that'll be entertaining.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're always entertaining. The only update I've ever been caught by is the page speed. And that was only because I didn't think it was actually a ranking factor. I thought it was just bullshit to get me to make my pages faster.
Oh,
Well,
However,
it was,
didn't-
but not enough people did it, so they made it a ranking factor.
You know what it was, Steve? I think that actually was brought in a little at a time. So it like for the first 1 or 2 months, didn't see any difference. And I thought, this is nothing. Then on the 3rd month, saw a bit of a drop. 4th month, a bit more. And before I know it, what was on the first page is now on the 2nd page.
Oh, geez.
But as soon as we updated the website and fixed the speed, right back to where it was. Like almost as if nothing had happened. And all they did was update the theme so it was a little bit faster than the old one. Which I kept telling them, that's a problem, this theme. And they wouldn't pay to fix it. Because they'd already paid someone else thousands to build it, and it was trash.
It's web development has become a lot like a lot of things where there's no repercussions for doing a bad job.
Not really, no, not if you're on WordPress. It's pretty hard to screw it up.
Well, I mean, just in general. I mean, I've taken on clients who it's like, well, we had a new website built 6 months ago, and this, that, you know, it's like, okay, cool. Let me have access to your analytics. What
Yeah.
analytics?
It is, right?
Web developer should have put that in on day one.
Yeah,
Search console. Nope, don't have that. Web developer should have put that in on day one. Yes, these are
Whoa.
technically SEO tools, but if you're a web developer, you're not providing these things up front to people, or even explaining that to them. You're selling them a box that's sealed and no idea of what's going on inside of it. What's the point?
right. But those are the web developers that should be learning SEO because you know what? They're already doing SEO. They just don't know it.
they don't
just-
know it. Yeah, they don't know. They don't know it. And I web develop. So I'm not a technical person, so this is just
Right.
from the outside looking in. But when you have a website that's cluttered, messy, whatever, and the web developer has not said, we need to make it clean and neat, and they're doing a disservice to their client, in my opinion, because
I just took on a new client last month.
yeah,
And their old website had 2.5 meg hero image, but it had 8 of them in a slider to present his testimonials going across the screen at the top.
uh,
And so when I redesigned the website, I took that out and just I minimized. He still had his hero image, but it wasn't anywhere near as big, and it was heavily compressed, and it looked great. And the first thing he said is, "Where are all my testimonials?" Well, they're on a page called testimonials, and there's one in the middle of the screen with a link to more testimonials. That's the way this should be done. They're like, "No, I have to have these on my homepage. People read those." And no, they don't. But to make him happy, I went ahead and redesigned an area of his website to just have a simple text scroll that updates every 3 seconds or whatever, so that it didn't take up any bandwidth. But I mean, I took his initial page load was something like 12 seconds when I got the site, and now it's like 1.2.
Where it should be.
It's plenty fast now. So, but there was all them hero images. Ridiculous.
Yeah. And here's the thing on mobile, they probably weren't even resizing them. They were just changing the numbers so they fit on
Probably.
the screen, which is, like how many things I have seen very few themes that actually swap those images out.
And on his mobile site, there is no hero image. It's a picture of him. And we swap out the hero image entirely for just a profile picture of him. You know. But yeah, he for a moment I thought he was going to fire me when he told me to do that. And I told him no. No.
Well,
It's bad web design. It's bad SEO. It's just bad user
bad
experience. There's nothing
altogether,
good about
right.
it. And I won't do that, even if you really, 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 really want that. It's just
Right.
not gonna happen.
So I have a question. So
Mhm.
I was watching Andy Cristodino yesterday, and he was suggesting that testimonials should be everywhere, like on every page.
But they
Oh,
can't be the same ones.
no, they
and-
can't be the same ones. No, no, no,
And
no.
you're a whole lot better off. You're a whole lot better off if you're pulling a feed from somewhere else than just posting testimonials, because nobody believes a testimonial that's built into the website.
or randomize them in.
Yeah, or randomize them in a way.
Right.
And we've done that before, where you get 40 or 50 of them and it just pulls a couple at random, and that helps. But yeah, no, having testimonials is important. It's the way you present them that matters.
Yeah. Also have to remember, people don't care about testimonials until they're quite a ways down the buy funnel.
Sales for
They're
So-
down the funnel, but then at that point, they do care about the testimony.
Right. So that's how you should be placing your testimonials, is in places like, for instance, right above your buy form is where you want to have testimonials, your return policy, all the information that are probably going through that user's head as they're filling out the form to purchase.
That was one of the things I hated when Google took away the stars and just said recommended. It's like, oh, you're killing me. We need this type of, I need a reason to send somebody to Facebook to look at our reviews. Otherwise, I have no reason to send anybody to Facebook from a website.
Really?
I mean, why would I? It makes no sense as somebody who owns a website with traffic already on that website. Why would I want to encourage them to leave? And for any reason.
Well, unless
So-
you want them, they're avid Facebookers, and you want them to follow your page. But even then,
Well, but
what are
that's-
your chances of
But that's a
getting-
conversion, then that's a different issue entirely, where with like Google reviews, I could pull those in, total Google review
Oh,
rate,
okay, right.
4.5 stars. And, here are some of the Google reviews from the last 2 months. Can't do that with Facebook anymore.
Oh, they won't allow you to pull in.
I don't have reviews. They got rid of reviews entirely. Your only option to quote, there's no stars. You used to be able to, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars on Facebook. That hasn't been that way in a long time. Now it's, do you recommend this place? Yes or no?
Yeah. Okay.
And a no means nothing, because I don't recommend it. Doesn't mean whether it gives no indication whether I had a bad experience or just have no experience.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, great, you got 40 recommendations or 4,000 recommendations. What does that mean?
Right.
Although my favorite ones on Facebook are the people with 800 followers and 12,000 recommendations. Those always make me curious. Uh-oh, I think we broke Zara.
No, all right, I gotta please review this email, so I'm.
Oh, yeah. What else? Apparently, VMware got penalized by the Securities and Exchange Commission for fraud. And their fine was a whole $8 million. That's like a rounding error for them.
Yeah. Real. They probably give that more than that in options to the CEO. What would VMware do that they didn't like?
They were lying about their numbers. They were
Oh.
vastly inflated.
Accounting errors.
Probably, yeah.
Or, in real, it's probably accounting fraud, but
Yeah, that's usually what the SEC gets involved with.
yeah. Yeah.
So apparently they time shifted a whole lot of revenue into other quarters. And
Backwards or forwards?
forward.
Forward.
Forward. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whatever. I didn't read the actual case, so I just thought it was interesting that a company worth $50 billion gets caught for fraud, and their penalty is like me handing a dollar bill to the guy at Sonic. There's no incentive to not commit fraud that way.
Right. No incentive not to do it again.
Right.
Well,
But
it's
Google
like
did the same thing in the EU.
Google just got slapped with a fine, what, yesterday? In
Yeah.
the EU? Yeah.
Oh, they get fined every other month by
Yeah,
the
I know.
EU. If it's not one part of it, it's another.
Yeah.
Suing them for something. That's just their way of collecting taxes. I've always believed that. I don't think they're,
Let's see. Google and Meta were fined $71 million for violating privacy law in South Korea.
No, but they paid less than that. That's what I read. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that was the original ask, but then they changed it, so they paid less than that. But
what they say, we only,
either way, it's like a nothingness to Google.
yeah,
Well, and
that's
that's
a
just-
counting error for sure.
Yeah. And then they get to deduct it on their taxes.
If they paid them.
Yeah.
I think there are companies that get hit with that 15%, right?
I'm
New thing.
I'm sure they have a line item in their accounting that says cost of doing business, fines paid, and they just keep going and treat it like cost of goods sold and move on. Yeah, we know we're doing something you don't like and you feel it's illegal, but it's cheaper for us to pay the fine than to actually comply.
Mhm.
That's when CEOs need to go to prison.
Yeah, but in a lot of cases, they're just using the laws that, the
Oh, yeah.
governments give them. I mean, a lot of American companies have literally billions
It's the
sitting
CFO.
offshore, waiting for the government to say, okay, you can bring it home for free now. That's what they all waiting for.
It's the CFO, Steve.
Oh no, I want to put them both in prison.
Oh, okay.
We'll let them share a salary because the conversation was had. It's not, and if it wasn't had, it should have been. So, it's just like being what do you call it? A co-conspirator or an accomplice.
Accomplice, yeah.
Yeah.
All I did was drive.
Well,
getaway
the thing
car.
is, the CEO is responsible for everything that happened. But I had at one point in time, when was this, like 20 years ago or something, I used to make summaries of financial reports, and the CFO would come in and do all this stuff and throw numbers around and stuff. And then the CEO would come in and do the vanilla, we're cool stuff. But my sense always was that the CEOs were the front of the house guys, and that the CFOs are the ones who actually made things happen. And but the legal responsibility is that the CEO is responsible for whatever anybody is doing.
Right.
I figure you'd only have to put one of them in prison before the rest of them would get their act in order.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe two of them.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg in prison. That would be hysterical for a week.
Oh my gosh, that would be.
Facebook for prisoners. What else is going on?
I just have to, I'm gonna put in a plug, sideways plug for InLinks. I've been using it lately and I'm really, really impressed with what they do. And for, I was, and for writers, for content, I just think it's
Right.
astounding. Let me finish, okay? And an InLinks presentation sometime in the last 2 months, okay? And a lot of the SEOs were saying that they really loved InLinks, but that when they sent their writers to InLinks, they couldn't get it. It was beyond their comprehension. And here I am at Bogus Hangout for many years, but I really think people who write for the web need to at least understand the concepts of what's going on so that when somebody gives you a task to write, whatever it is, that you're going to understand what I mean. Now it's just like, it's like the world is your oyster as far as being a writer is concerned, because there's your topic, right? Whatever that topic is. And then there are all these topic clusters that go with it that you can use to expand what's going on. Anyway, I am really impressed with InLinks and using it as a tool for content creation.
Agreed. Very cool.
Yeah, pretty good at picking up topics.
They are pretty good. I originally started, if it's business, let's put it that way, because I originally started with InLinks for my own writing, my author website, where I write articles about writing mysteries, how to write a good mystery, whatever. And InLink struggles with that, with finding topics or finding relationships, because it's very, very niche. I know when, for instance, with Inc would bring up another article by me on that topic. So, but when you're delving into the world of business, at InLinks is just really fabulous. And our pretty new SEO person was like, I spent 3 days doing internal links and InLinks did it in like 15 minutes, so.
Yeah, but you have to be careful with using.
You have to watch all that stuff, and
Yes,
you have to
because
watch.
it will try to, let's say when I used it, I thought it linked from, it could have chosen better places to link from. It's indiscriminate. In other words, meaning almost everywhere it sees that word, it may try and link. So
Okay.
you have to really manage your links that I know Steve has probably tried that part of it. What do you think,
Oh, yeah.
Steve?
No, I agree. I mean, like every other tool that's out there, you need to have a little bit of an understanding of what that tool does and why, and then finish up with your own judgment. You can't just fire and forget any of these tools.
Yeah, well,
It's
it's
a
the same.
quick way to get in trouble.
Yeah, it's the same with the topics, like they'll come up with topics and some of them are like, what is that? And I just ignore them and,
Mhm.
do the rest of the stuff. And then, so what's your experience with their schema?
I don't use that for schema.
You
I
don't-
do
you do your
schema
own.
myself.
Okay,
Because I use about and mentions, and that's what they use.
mhm,
There is another program that I use, that I started using instead of links for the kind of research that you're doing, mainly because I think links includes topics, right?
Mhm.
That aren't going to move your rankings, right? Because you have to remember, Google is looking at the co-occurrence of entities, period.
period, yep.
Okay, right? So that's the most important thing. I actually use a tool on Google Cloud, right? That is free. And it does that. It tells you every entity that you see on a page. So what I do is I use that tool with the top 3 or 4 results,
Mm,
collect the entities off those pages. And actually, when I was working with another Python programmer, he ran it through a Python program that listed those entities. But what is more important is Google, in another part of that same program, shows you intent and sentiment on every sentence in those documents.
oh, that is cool.
Okay. Thirdly, it tells you the topic or the category that it would put it into. So when you're doing it, you're trying to match up the co-occurrences of the entities, right? You're trying to look at the sentiment. Now, if the sentiment, one way that you can make your documents unique is to come at an article from a different sentiment, right? Like give it a unique point of view rather than what everyone else wrote about.
What everyone else is doing,
Right,
yeah.
because that's one of the keys, right? That I believe is going to be, people are going to find are part of this helpful content. The part of the reason is before Bill passed, him and I spent months literally talking about a patent that identified unique ideas, unique content, and unique and topics that are unique to an author.
Okay,
And those are things that I think are going to start coming into play even heavier.
well, I agree with that too, and that how can I say this? So there's everybody's doing this, topic stuff. They're doing the topics, everybody's creating topics about the topics, right?
Right.
And so all of a sudden you have 12 really good coverages of topic A, right? And the thing is that then they end up being fairly indistinguishable from each other as far as the information. Like
Bingo.
if you were searching for that topic, it wouldn't matter which of the 12 ones came up
And
as your.
here's why I think it's part of helpful content. How helpful is that content if there's 10 other sites saying the
It's
same
not.
thing? It's not helpful at all.
No,
And that is a standard way of covering a topic by SEOs, is to look at past articles and do exactly the same thing, basically parrot it.
yes, and so yeah, so I'm so I'm still the new kid on the block with this group that I'm working with, and they're still talking keywords a lot, right? And I'm gonna, and I am the camel's nose is under the tent is all I can say about focusing on topics and creating unique information all at the same time. That is our real goal if we want to separate our business or the businesses for whom we are working. If we want to separate them from all the other 10, 12 people who do the same thing and have, rank and all that stuff. So that, one of the things I think is really interesting about the work that, I can't remember his last name, Corey in Turkey, that he's doing with.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, okay. One of the things I think is interesting about what he's doing is this, massive, massive content creation, to get things, and he uses writers who are topic specific. And it's really, I think it's a wise thing to do. I think it's probably not affordable for most businesses, to hire 20 writers to write, all these articles.
But
And
that's what it really requires, because if you don't add some sort of expertise to it, you're just one of thousands.
then you're the parrots. Then you just have
Yeah.
parrots.
And here's what people haven't really picked up on too much. I've mentioned it here. When you go into Google, your business profile, you'll see categories that it says you are basically about. Their categories that can be associated to you. Guess what? I was seeing real estate for a web development company. I saw real estate, and they were all where I had written about real estate on other sites. All of it was related to posts I wrote on other sites.
Wow.
And believe me, Google is doing that. Look, go to your own business profile and look under the other categories, and you should find the same thing if you're working for a bunch of different businesses.
Mhm.
It would have been probably even more diverse, because in the early days I used Webmaster T, right? That's my name. So not as and haven't written very much under my own name, really.
But they
Steve, do you
still,
have any?
but Google still found you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
But I don't think it's really made an association between the two,
Oh, between those two. Okay.
right? If I was smart, I would probably in a business profile or something put ACA Webmaster T.
I know that a couple of years ago, maybe even not that long ago, because I had 2 knowledge graphs, and Google said, you can't do this. This is 2 businesses at the same address. And I said, yep, you're right. It is. Both of those businesses are me.
Yep.
They are entirely different businesses.
Yeah, why can't I have 2 addresses?
And they
at the
said,
same-
oh, okay. And so
Right.
they didn't take one away,
They wanted you to prove that they were both independent businesses.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's partially why they won't allow office space and virtual offices for that reason.
Okay, yeah. So I have a
Harder to
question about that in a different regard for with Google My Business.
Well, it's called Google Profile, Business Profile or something now.
It's something new, okay, but whatever it's called right now, all right.
Okay.
So when you when you want to list your business with them, and get it on Google Maps and all that stuff, one of the things that happens at the very beginning is they they send a verification to your
Right,
legal
right.
address, right?
Right.
What happens to say a business that actually functions in an EU country, but their business is registered in Delaware? What happens then?
They could probably do both, right, Steve?
It's based off the physical location of the business or the service area. Where the company's actually functionally registered is kind of irrelevant.
Right. Oh, that would be a business.
Oh, okay,
area.
so, all right. Thank
Like
you.
I think Doc says he does business in Australia. And it's in his area. Right, Doc?
He's muted. Oh, there he is.
Oh, okay.
He unmuted, but he
Sorry,
hasn't plugged in.
Web Narwhal is actually an LLC registered in Wyoming, okay?
In
But
Wyoming.
but our physical address is located in San Diego, California,
And none of us live there.
and none of us live there, okay? The, we didn't say that. The, yeah, I have clients in various countries, but our business entity exists in San Diego, and that's where we get our postcard. That's where we have a mail drop there. That's,
Yeah.
that's where we-
Okay,
that's
so
where
that's
we-
whatever Google My Business.
I
calls
thought
it.
in the past that you had mentioned that you had a business area that included Australia.
I do.
In
Well,
the
I
past.
did before I rolled everything into Web Narwhal. Okay.
Right, that's what I was
Physic
talking
Value
about.
SEO had a UK branch, an Australia branch, and the North American branch.
Oh, okay.
But now we've rolled everything into Web Narwhal, and including top shelf copy. It's all under the Web Narwhal umbrella. Doesn't preclude us from doing business in Australia or UK.
Right.
It's just a matter of legal entity.
And for business area, Google's actually wanting to know where you'll take customers from, basically.
Yeah, and our business area, the region on the Google business profile is the region right around our San Diego address. Later, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Cool. Yeah, I get a call every day from some listing company for Google that keeps saying you're not verified. And I just
Is it-
as
is
soon
it
as the
is it
first
Google
word
or a
comes
fake
out,
Google?
well, as soon as the first word comes out, I just hang up the phone. Like, know what it's
Oh,
say.
it's
But
a,
you would think that they would pick up that by now, right? I'm not going to answer.
Yeah, well, they got their hot list handed out to them, and they're going to keep calling you.
Yeah. But I don't know why, because I forget what happened. It was a business profile for SEO pros, which I decided at some point that it wasn't actually a business and that it didn't belong there. So I tried to remove it, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I recall when you went through that.
Yeah. So, well, that's what they're calling on, I'm pretty sure.
I suspect that we're going to see a lot more such stringent changes over the next year or three, because there's so many governments that are trying to make sure they've got a handle on who owes them taxes based upon their location, and they're putting so much pressure on the advertising agency, Google and Bing
Wow.
and whatnot.
I'll tell you, it used to be very seldom that I saw software companies in the US would charge me GST.
Yeah.
However, the Canadian government now makes me declare US and revenue outside of Canada separate
Mhm.
from my Canadian.
Which is,
Oh,
revenue.
really? So you have to sort
and
it
it
out.
certainly
on-
makes sense to me that they'd want to see you report all of it. But it makes me wonder what's their interest in seeing it separated? Is it a different tax
Because they
rate?
want to know how much of my business is in the US so they can see if I'm cheating on GST or HST.
Is it a different tax rate?
You don't charge US anything.
Ah, okay.
So when I'm dealing with US customers, I don't have to charge them GST. However, if you're a US company selling to me, the Canadian government can come at any time and say to you, you owe us X in past GST and you've gotta
man.
pay it.
Mamma mia.
So
Wow.
that's why more and more companies, right? And GoDaddy tried to mess with it. If I went in one way, it went to the US. If I went another way, it went to Canada. And I phoned him up and said, well, you know, what you're doing is illegal. Like you can't do that. If I log into the Canadian site and then you do the
Redirect? Yeah.
do the transaction in the US and don't charge me GST, that's illegal. You're breaking the law. But more importantly, it's screwing me over too, because I'm not, they're looking at my GST and stuff and saying what's going on, you know, and I found every time I sign up now, more and more companies have now got GST numbers. But, you know, then the idiots charge you in US dollars instead of Canadian.
I
They
saw,
should
What?
be billing you.
Oh,
in
that's,
Canadian.
I saw
Yeah.
an article here a few weeks ago, and it came out of some university here in the US that and I think it was 2018, maybe 2019 that they used as a basis. They said it's something like 300 and some billion dollars in sales tax that should be collected in the US was not being collected. 300 and some billion. Okay. So
That's probably,
you could bet your sweet ass that there is somebody up high in the government that is trying to figure out a way to corral all that.
well, I think what they're doing in Canada is they're seeing, you know, when I put in my invoices, right? They're seeing every year I've been to, let's say, Lipson. I'm surprised they haven't been forced to do it, charge GST. But Microsoft, Rank Ranger, but I think they're a Canadian company. I'm not positive,
Yeah, I
but I
think they
think
are.
they might be. And GT Metrics is the one that is still figuring it out in US dollars, which means I have to take the US dollars and convert it all into Canadian. Oh,
at that current
right at the price it was when they did it.
at the
So
transaction time. Yeah, that gets kind of sticky. And
Wow.
I was just trying to go through that the other day with some reporting on some Australian transactions where I was paid in AUD and trying to find a chart where you can look up and say, what was the exchange rate of the Australian to US dollar on May 17th of 2018? Good freaking luck.
oh, you know where you go? Put that into Google. USD to or whatever transaction you want to do, it figures it out right in the search.
Oh yeah, I know, but
Or that with the
trying to go
date,
back to an archive date is
You
difficult.
can I've had to do that and it's easy too, Doc. You just have to put the date that you want. So USD, AUD on and the date that you want, and it'll bring up a chart for that day.
I
Wow.
haven't tried that with the actual date in the search bar.
Right. That's what I did to get it. Pretty
Pain in the
sure.
butt. makes life more interesting. And I just love bookkeeping.
Yeah, what I do now for GT metrics, the first one was at the highest the dollar's ever been, so I just use the same one each month. As long as it's not more, right? If I'm paying less,
Call that a win.
right? So as long as I'm not over quoting or overstating, I'm cool. If I'm understating, well, they aren't gonna care. So that's basically what I've done. Because the dollars right now is at almost as the highest I've ever seen it. The highest I remember is $1.35. Like one US is worth $1.35 Canadian.
Canadian, yeah.
I remember seeing it right about 1.5 something at
Yeah, I remember
several
that
years ago.
too, 1.5.
That would have been
It was pre-Trudeau.
Oh yeah, that would be
Prehistoric.
that would be like in the 70s, I think, Doc.
Oh, it was later than that. I'm thinking it was probably in the early to mid 90s, 91, 2, 3, somewhere in there.
I
Because
remember.
I was on a forum with we had quite a few Canadians, and it suddenly started the Canadian, we were at parity there for a long time. And then all of a sudden the Canadian just started plummeting.
Well, when
And it
oil
hit like
was
1.51 or something. Like, Jesus.
around 2008-9, the Canadian dollar was worth more than the US dollar.
Yeah.
That was when oil was also at the price that it's at now or higher. When oil was the first time it hit $100, the Canadian dollar and US dollar were pretty well par. I think the Canadian dollar was more. That's when I bought it.
Yeah, I
And now
remember-
I'm getting ready to sell it.
I do remember a point where the Canadian dollar was actually stronger. Not by a lot, but a little bit. But it stayed
Yeah.
at parity for quite a while
Yeah, when oil
until people started playing games.
when oil was big, right? When oil was a big thing, right? Now, because our oil is trade so much cheaper than American, most of people don't understand that most of the gasoline that's made in America, the actual oil comes from Canada, from the oil sands, because it's so cheap.
Well, the other thing that drives me nuts that people don't understand that regardless of how much oil we have available to us, in the US, we have extremely limited refining capability.
Right.
And so the price of gas is influenced by a lot more than the price of crude.
Oh, yeah. It's also like if one of those refineries go down.
Oh, fuck, you lose 20% of your goddamn volume right off the
Right.
top. Yeah.
Right. Like when they had that big fire in Texas
In
at
Texas.
one of the refineries, that really hurt the price
Oh,
of
yeah.
gas.
And it takes like 17 years average to build one of those refineries.
In billions of dollars too.
Yeah, tens of billions, hundreds of billions.
Yeah, which is why they're not, and then you have to get the permitting to actually build one. That's why they don't build them in America anymore, because you can't get the permitting.
Yeah,
Same in
nobody wants to
Canada.
live downwind from a refinery, right?
Well,
Or
hey,
if it's
I
within
lived
100
in
miles of any
Alberta.
water.
It's not that big a deal. I never really understood the whole deal with the oil. Like, I don't understand why they shut down the pipelines and all that other stuff. It's like, if you think we're going to be able to run all the vehicles in North America on electricity, it's not going to happen in my fucking lifetime.
And where do they
Wow.
think this electricity is going to come from?
Right. The grid couldn't handle it now. It might be down, like if it gets too hot in California, the
Well,
grid's screwed.
people
Well,
are,
they already did that with one of the electrical things in California. They said, please don't charge your electric vehicle.
Right.
One of the things they ask people not to do, which is like, oh wait, all
but
this proud
supposedly,
EV owners, oh wait, I thought I
but they
always
were
have
saying,
electricity, right?
as a point of justification for that, they were saying, I don't know if it was true or not, that it was because most people charge their vehicles overnight, and it
And they all
suddenly
do it.
became a peak draw.
Right. Everybody's doing it at the
okay.
same
And
time.
that was the big reason that they didn't want everybody charging their vehicles during that time frame, because the peak went from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to midnight.
Yeah, it's usually dinner hours when it's at
Dinner
peak.
hour is
Yep.
usually
Somebody
the biggest
gets home
time.
from
Yeah.
work and plugs in the car. Yep.
That's actually why I eat my main meal at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because I save a lot of money on electricity. Seriously.
Hurry. That's funny.
Well, the price almost doubles between 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock.
Oh, and 6.
Oh, yeah, there's a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
Same with the air conditioner. I only use it at night, after hours. Try to anyhow.
Well, we're coming up to the top of the hour here.
Yeah, yeah. I'm keeping pretty busy these days. Lots of baseball on TV.
Oh, yeah, that's make you a happy camper.
Yeah, hockey starts on the 21st. Training
my
camps open.
We'll be hearing about the hockey then, I know.
Yeah, well, the Jays are doing pretty good. I'm hoping they can catch the Yankees.
I'm kind of appreciating the virtual world because I'm going to a conference that I would really love to go to in person. It's crime writers. It's called Bloody Scotland. It happens in Scotland. This is the 10th year anniversary. And I'm going virtually this year. And I'm just like, it's going to be fun,
Yeah, but
On the other hand, right before we started, I think I had the longest time ordering a book from overseas. I went to a Spanish book website. Oh my gosh, it was like, your firstborn and all this stuff. And to order one book, can I just order this without creating an account and all this stuff? But no. Then I had to
Oh.
verify my account twice.
They can't upsell you if they don't know who you are.
I guess that's true. And as
Not
it
to mention,
was,
as
I
a
had
verified user, you're a very marketable.
plus they don't deliver to the United States, so I had to do this, jerry rigging where it's like I wrote to my daughter, I said, if I send this book to you, well, then you mail it to me, kind of thing.
I came across a couple of years ago, I was buying something for a friend in Portugal
Uh-huh.
that was coming out of Tennessee. And I found a company that apparently they've got, like, at that time, it was like 10 or 11 branches around the world. They're in Australia, Canada, UK, Spain, France, Germany, all over the world. They've got these offices, and it's basically a postal, package service where if they don't ship to your country, tell them to ship to us at one of these locations, and we will ship. And it was like $11 was the charge to receive this bottle of whiskey and readdress it and ship it to Portugal, which is
Huh.
pretty damn reasonable.
That
I'll
is
have to
very
look it up.
reasonable, especially
Oh,
since it's alcohol.
Well, I'll have to look up and see if I can find it on one of my old drives. But it was kind of a cool business idea. They basically had set themselves up as a forwarder for private consumption.
Freight forwarder.
Yeah, but on a very, very affordable level.
There's actually a lot of US, when I was working with US companies, a lot of them, when I said, well, why aren't you selling in Canada, right? They didn't want to because
Pain in the ass.
because when you try and send stuff out over the border, if there's no GST paid on it,
Yeah.
the border levies the GST then.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Oh,
And it comes to the customer with a debt on it.
with
Yeah.
a
So in
debt
other
on it.
words, you want this package, you got to pay the GST.
That pisses customers off in a hurry.
Oh, yeah. That's why they don't do it, because the
Oh,
company
no.
said, we don't know how to handle that. And I just laughed and said, charge $11 more and include the include it in the price and then pay it.
Well,
Right?
This was there was no import duties at all on this because there's an
Yeah.
agreement between the US and the UK, and it was within the UK. I think I shipped it into Marseille, and they shipped it over to Portugal.
Yeah. The thing is, though, once it crosses the border into Canada, they say that's where the purchase happens. So you have to pay it because the person who bought it was in Canada, definitely, right? Which, to get around that, all the American business has to do is register in Canada, right? Costs less than $100 to register in Canada, get a GST number, and be able to sell into Canada. Of course, you charge GST and you pay it to the government. But it gives you an advantage because usually you can sell, because everything in Canada comes with a currency hit.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it costs 3% to change it over.
Is it true? I've been told, but I don't know. Is it true if I were to send you a birthday gift, as a personal gift to Toronto, I was told that depending upon what it is, that there are some products that at the border will have to pay an import duty because they're not covered by the US Canadian trade.
If there was a duty on those products, yeah, probably.
Well, like clothing, for instance, if I were to send you a shirt, apparently a shirt is, because apparel or any fabric product is not part of the
Right.
agreement.
Like
So it would
even,
be subject to tax.
yeah, even if I go to the United States and buy apparel
And bring it back?
and bring it back, I have to pay a duty.
Jesus Christ.
Unless you take all the tags off and put it in your luggage.
Oh, wow. The weirdest
So
thing
in-
the weirdest thing I had was when my daughter got married, she and her husband moved to France, but the wedding ring wasn't finished yet. The jeweler was making it here in the United States. And so when it was time to, when I went to pick up the ring from the jeweler and to send it to them, and I, in all naivete, I go to the FedEx and I put ring and, sorry, France does not take jewelry, even though it was listed as a gift. France does not take jewelry from the United States, so they wouldn't even send it. So I ended up like, I got her a little, sexy nightie and then kind of embroidered the ring onto the nightie and stuck it in a package and said, lingerie, and off it went. I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
Can't insure it, that's for sure.
Right.
Okay, looks like we're at the top of the hour, folks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've
Thank
got to go
everybody
review
for-
that email. Okay. That
Thanks
was fun.
everybody for showing up, and we'll see y'all next week.
Yep.
Thanks.